Hey guys, I'm Fancy, and you're watching the Good Wives Network, and we are back with a Monster in Your Bed. A quick update on Mica Miller. As you know, we have been covering the suspicious death of a South Carolina pastor's wife, Mica Miller. She drove across state lines on April 27th into North Carolina to a park there, a state park called Lumber River State Park, and she placed a call to 911, or allegedly she placed this call. Some people believe that the call is fake. Her family believes that this was a premeditated unaliving and not the unaliving of herself, like the Robeson County Medical Examiner has ruled it. There is lots of suspicions revolving around this death. 2 days prior, she had just served her estranged husband for quite some time with divorce papers. And there was also a fraud investigation that was taking place. And so people are alleging that she did not have any plans to unalive herself, and that they believe that her death is very suspicious. In fact, her family is even considering filing a wrongful death suit against her estranged husband, JP, who would be the biggest suspect in all of this, despite the fact that he allegedly has an alibi during the time period. But you know how those go. But what's really interesting is that through the Freedom of Information Act, there have been new documents that have surfaced, and they are allegations of harassment and stalking that Mica reported to the authorities about her estranged husband all the way up until a month before she passed away. She filed multiple police reports in the month of March against him. On Monday, March 11th, she filed a complaint and motion for a restraining order against him through the Surfside Beach Magistrate Court. And to establish a pattern of stalking or harassment, the paperwork requires 2 police reports to be attached to the filing of that document of either first or second degree harassment and or stalking. And it appears that Mica actually shared 3 reports. So the first police report was from March 3rd at 1 p.m. at Wicked Tuna, which was an Horry County restaurant. Her description of the incident states John Paul sent her multiple texts that day. In the report, Mica said the first text came in when she was at an oyster roast with her family, and she documented the text as saying, "Enjoy your oysters." And then she alleged the other text asked, "How was Valorious?" And Mica's report details she attended Valorious Church that morning. So basically, he's stalking her in her, in her report here. She's alleging that he's stalking her, showing up in places that she is not telling him that she would be at, and him obviously knowing what she is doing. Her second report was filed on March 5th at 7 a.m. at the county clerk in Conway. Documents show Mica Miller wrote that JP harassed me before my redacted, whatever that is, before and after, with multiple email calls and texts and letters, put a thick razor in my passenger side tire, resulting in a new tire. Now, her third report came after alleged incidents from John Paul on March 11th at 1 o'clock in the morning at the Springmaid Pier parking garage. According to the document dates, this report was filed the same day Mica filed the motion for the restraining order. In this report, Mica alleged she found 3 more razors in her car tires, and that JP had keyed the back. She continued saying she found a tracker and letter accusing her of an affair with a teenager. According to the restraining order request, Mica was specifically requesting these 3 things. First was the defendant, listed as John Paul Miller, he be enjoined from abusing, threatening to abuse, or molesting the plaintiff or members of the plaintiff's family. Mica is listed as the plaintiff. The defendant be enjoined from entering or attempting to enter the plaintiff's place of residence, employment, education, or other location. The defendant be enjoined from communicating or attempting to communicate with her in a way that would violate South Carolina Code of Laws covering harassment and stalking. On March 26, a bench trial was held in the case of Mica Miller versus John Paul Miller, as a civil case in which Mica sought this restraining order. Now, ABC tried to get the documents from the bench trial and the rulings, and the information was denied. However, they were able to obtain through Freedom of Information Act Mica and John Paul's post-nuptial agreement. Now, this is really interesting to me because this is not a normal thing. Normally, you have to sign a prenup for this to be something that you can do to protect yourself, your assets, all of those things during marriage. But they had been already married for a while, and he got her to sign this post-nuptial. The document states that the agreement was for the rights and obligations should Mica and John Paul decide to divorce. The agreement states under legal advisement, John Paul had the document written by his attorney, and it was reviewed by Mica. It also states that Mica, against John Paul's legal team's advice, freely and voluntarily agreed to the post-nuptial without a lawyer of her own. And next to listing separation of personal assets and property, one section of the agreement outlines a NACO, a no adverse contact order. The NACO section from the postnuptial agreement reads in totality, Michael and John Paul agree to a no adverse contact order, which will restrain them from engaging directly or indirectly in any adverse conduct towards one another, including but not limited to the following or not limited to following or stalking the other party. This NACO will permit Mica and John Paul to contact, associate, and communicate with one another only so long as both mutually consent to such contact, association, or communication. The purpose of the NACO is to both encourage and require civil contact and communication between them. And this NACO is not intended to trigger, implement, or affect any provisions of Federal Title 18 USC 922 GG or G9, nor is the NACO intended to rise to the level of or be considered an order of protection as defined in the South Carolina Protection from Domestic Abuse statutes. So, he's not been arrested for anything, and so far her death has been ruled as self-unaliving, but I'm not so sure that everybody's buying that. I think that there's going to be a lot more that comes from this story, and we will be following it. We have already made quite a few videos about this. We posted the path that she had to walk. We posted where the flowers were from where she was found, which raises suspicion as to how the gun was found 40 meters away. There's a lot of suspicious things about this. There's 2 gunshots now instead of 1. So there's a lot to be thinking about. But we will keep reporting on this here, along with all the other cases that we have been updating you with. So have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time. Bye, guys.